Hello everybody, welcome back to Hellbound Garage, and today we're going to keep working on the engine bay. I kind of jumped ahead of things, and I already started doing a bunch of the sanding for the engine bay. While doing so, I was going through and hitting all the spots that I did welding on to make sure that they were still smooth, then hitting everything. This entire car was epoxy primed, and it's been a while, so I took an 80 grit sandpaper to the engine bay. Now while I'm sanding, I'm also going into corners like that guy over there, where there's still seam sealer left over that the blaster wasn't able to blast out of there. And I'm picking out of it because I'm going to be re-seam sealing it. So all the edges in the engine bay, kind of like this plate that has a line of seam sealer, I'll be redoing that. So I took a disc and got rid of most of the seam sealer that I could get to. And I've kind of worked my way to about this part of the firewall. Now down here is going to be kind of an issue that we're going to get into. It's one of those things that wasn't able to be gotten to by the blaster because the battery tray used to be there. I personally removed it after the car was blasted and primed. So we'll go over a little bit of what I plan on doing there, and then we'll just keep sanding. Hopefully on this one I'll be able to finally start laying some filler.
I wake up every minute with the fever dreams. I push my mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be. And when my mind turns sour with the painful scenes, I need to scream out loud, I can't stop me. I wanna be the greatest like Rocky. You know I leave them all hating like a hobby. I'm out here making moves like a lobby. And if you ain't with me, it's your loss, see. I got my mind on the facts, I'm a python, grab what I like real fast. Stroke until I have everything I attack, everything that I lack, everything that I want, and I see, matter of fact. Cause I'm my own worst enemy. Only if I let it be. I can control anything if I can just think carefully. I control my destiny. Deep up in my mind I manifest it. Every morning I wake up obsessed, and everything I do the best. And deep within my mind you know I'll always manifest it.
Not sure if you can really see it, but protection is definitely a must when doing this stuff. There's all kinds of dust, and if you don't have some kind of breather, it's going to get into your nose, and it's going to be a real nasty mess. As well as this, I also have a fan in the background. You can probably hear it right now. Along with that, depending on your sander and what you're using, ear protection is a good thing. In this case, I just have my noise canceling headphones, so I don't have to deal with the buzzing of my electronic sander. But earplugs might be a better thing depending on the kind of tool you're using. Gloves are another thing. A lot of times they'll say that the oils in your hands while you're sanding will cause rust spots if you leave them on the car too long, so it's something else to watch out for. I've had them on before, and as you can tell, what ended up happening is this car's got a lot of edges to it, and it just rips the gloves, 5 minutes after wearing them, so I just got tired of changing them out. So I'm just doing it without any kind of gloves, but so far it's working out. Right in there is a gnarly patch that I had to deal with. There's like 3 layers of metal in this spot, and the factory rock coating on the inner fender ended up with a hole, and then water was able to sit inside the rocker guard right there, and it created a rust hole through all 3 of those panels. It's funny because it's only that single spot, but it's definitely thick, and I was having a lot of problems back then welding in these panels. So I'm gonna hit this with a grinder and then some sandpaper, and it should be good to go. Past that, I do have a few other spots that I ended up welding shut, and I'll end up taking the grinder to that, and then we'll keep on sanding.
Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Flashing red lights, driving at night, windowless ride, feeling alive. Nothing in sight, forever in flight. Follow those lines, we'll make it this time. Blurry street lights, work as a guide to memories that we're making tonight. Oh yeah, we'll make it tonight. Yeah, I'll do anything that I feel like I wanna do. I'm living life like I got nothing left to prove. No end in sight, just always staying on the move. I'll go all night if that's just what I gotta do. Life's too short to care about what you can't afford. Memories are in what you explore, so just don't be ignored. Go ask for more, go ask for more. Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? I'm in a race that everybody's chasing fast. They wanna be that someone on the screen at last. They ain't looking inside for their needs in life. They wanna be liked by everybody in sight. But trust me, being free ain't spotlights. No, it's long nights and it's long fights with yourself all the time to get your mind right. But if you put in the work, you can find the light, alright. I'll do anything that I feel like I wanna do. I'm living life like I got nothing left to prove. No end in sight, just always staying on the move. I'll go all night if that's just what I gotta do. Life's too short to care about what you can't afford. Memories are in what you explore, so just don't be ignored. Go ask for more, go ask for more. Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing?
As you can see, most of the engine bay has that dull, or yeah, pretty much that dull kind of look to it, and that is a good look. That shows me that I've got most of the surfaces hit with the 80 grit. It's a real coarse grit for this, but I didn't want to take any chances. I want good cohesion when I go and finally spray stuff and lay some filler and things like that. So the last thing that I need to do before I start doing any kind of prep, filler, paint, any of that jazz is take care of this area here. So I've already hit it with a flap wheel and with some sandpaper, and that's what you see there. It gets a little tight in that corner there. So the next thing that we're going to do to try and get rid of as much of that brown as possible is we're going to use this guy on a grinder. And that'll get into all those little pits that just a sanding disc or a piece of sandpaper can't get into. I want to keep this area of the car stock. A lot of Datsuns, this area is rusted out. And having that in the car is kind of a bragging deal, because that means that not near as many batteries exploded in the engine bay and ate away that. A lot of people have to do a lot of work to cut out that spot of sheet metal, because there's a lot of batteries that eat through the metal in that location. And it's definitely something I don't want to have to do, and because the firewall's intact and the fender's intact there, even though it's pitted, it's solid. It's been hit with a blaster and tapped on and all kinds of stuff. It's solid. I don't want to mess with it. The only thing that I am going to do is, after I get it, wire wheeled and coated, is I'm going to put a little bit of filler on it just to see if I can smooth it out. If it doesn't hold, oh well. There is something I want to do in the future in that area that may change that altogether anyways. So for now, that's what we're going to do. We're going to hit it with a wire wheel, and then we're going to start prepping all the metal. So with that particular wire wheel, there's two different kinds. There's that flat kind like I was using, where there's more of a cone shape. With the flat kind, you definitely want gloves, safety glasses, possibly a face shield, because depending on the brand that you get, the quality on those can be kind of sketch. And as you're wire wheeling at the high RPMs of the grinder, that'll actually shoot the little metal hairs out, and they'll smack you. They'll get into your skin and stuff. I actually had one smack me right in here on my forehead. So another one of those, that safety is definitely a priority, because getting one of those in your eye isn't that unlikely of a possibility. So just keep that in mind if that's the kind of wire wheel you decide to use. Next step in the process of prepping the engine bay is using some acetone and a rag to wipe down the entire engine bay. We're actually going to do this twice. The first time I'm going to use a normal rag, and then the second time I'm going to go through and I'll use like blue shop towels just to try and get more stuff off of there. Now this isn't the final cleaning before the paint goes down or the primer. This is an in-between phase of cleaning where I'm going to hit up a few little areas with filler, and I just want as much of a nice clean spot for the filler to stick to. And if you have any kinds of sensitive hands, or your hands dry out really easy, gloves are the way to go. Otherwise your hands are going to be dry and feel funny for a couple hours after using this stuff. So I just got done wiping down the engine bay, and this kind of shows you why you wipe down an engine bay before you paint. This all used to be that light blue color, and it's all nasty, filthy, and that's just from the acetone picking up stuff out of the paint. And we got a bunch of rags as one last effort to ensure that no surface rust or anything happens underneath all the paint. I did grab this rusty metal primer. I paint over rusty metal surfaces, and it helps with a chemical reaction, making the metal stronger or back to metal instead of rust. Not sure if it works, especially out of a can, but we're gonna give it a shot. You know, there's going to be filler over top of it, so it's really not going to be that big of a deal. This is just one more layer of protection if it actually works. So the main spot in the engine bay has been covered. It's been covered with 2 coats now, just for the, you know, extra protection if that's a thing. I also hit it in this corner here, and then at the very front, these are probably the longest exposed parts to the elements. So I just went through and threw some coating on them real quick. Not that it'll be a thing. Gonna let that stuff dry, and then we'll come back and start laying some filler. Next step in the process is now going to be filler. And what I want to use the filler for is not like a complete shave. That's not the intention of this. This is a race car. But it's to fill spaces like this. See these little guys right here? Things like that, where I took the brackets off and the spot weld drill bit kind of went into the metal. That's the kind of things that I want to just cover up, just so I don't have to see them and have them bug me. You know, there's things like this too that I filled a hole with, and I just can't get it perfect because of how thin the sheet metal is. So I'm just going to go throughout the engine bay, and that's what we're going to be taking care of. We're not going to be, you know, we're not going to be covering up the seams on the body panels, or like the factory like crinkles from where they form the panels. I'm not after that kind of stuff. And this is the stuff that I bought from my local body shop supply. This is what they recommended. Not sure if this is actually what you're supposed to use, but this is what they recommended to me. So this is what we're going to use on the engine bay. So I've messed up several times with this already, and on other projects, and I have yet to like figure out exactly the right like percentage of hardener to filler. But you know, it's one of those things, the more you do, the more you learn, and each product's going to be different. So that's just one of those things that if you're trying this stuff, then you're just going to have to figure it out on your own. And temperature is a big factor on these. So, you know, I found that out the hard way on my last project, and I had stuff that was hardening super quick before I could even like use it, which is why I kind of went a little lax on this amount here, just to try and make it so it doesn't harden as quick. But we'll find out. And as you can tell, it's messy. Not something that, if you're afraid of making a mess, not something to try for you. But just like that, it already hardened, and I can't use it. So you have to be pretty quick about this, and like I said, the mixture's got to be just right. So we'll come back to this after I figure out exactly what went wrong, or just the right amount. It's, you know, almost 90 degrees out, and like the ideal temperature for this is going to be like 70. So you definitely got to play around with the mixtures. Alright, so I'm not going to video any more of me messing around with Bondo. It's going to be a whole lot of figuring out what the mixture is between the hardener and the actual filler. And I don't want to sit there and video all of my struggles with that. Just know that it's a lot of hit or miss with it. That stuff, literally within 5 minutes of mixing it and everything else, it hardened to the point of not being able to be used anymore. But the filler that didn't have any hardener that I spilled outside, even being in direct sunlight, that still was soft. So it's definitely a hardener mixture issue. And that's just because I'm way too new at doing filler. So I think I'm going to wrap up this video here. And in the next one, I'll have the filler all laid out in the engine bay. And then I can start prepping for the primer and hopefully the engine bay paint. So that's going to be super exciting, as long as the filler issue goes according to plan. So thank you for watching. I know this one took a while to get out there. I also decided to start some home renovations with my dad, and just for future reference, anybody that has plaster in their home, it sucks. Ended up taking 3 days to do, and I only got a small portion of what I wanted done. Definitely not how like this last week and a half was supposed to go. But anyways, till the next one, thank you for watching. Thank you for your support.